within the world of sport, certainly the top of the line.
Spurge here with RevZilla, and as you can see, the sun is barely cresting over the hills here in the Great Smoky Mountains as Yamaha has woken us up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to test this, the Yamaha FZ-10. This is going to be the flagship bike in Yamaha's line of FZ motorcycles. And remember, the FZ motorcycles, those are the naked sport bikes. Over the past 2 years, we've seen the FZ6 become the FZ7, the FZ8 is going to be the FZ9, and now the FZ1 becomes the FZ-10. And really what we're looking at is a bike that Yamaha has thrown the kitchen sink at. Electronic cruise control, 3 modes of traction control, revamped suspension, brakes, but really, it's this. It's going to be the belly of the beast on this. Yamaha is going to include in this the same inline 4 that's in the new R1 race bike, and they've retuned it more for street use. So supposedly, more low-end torque, more mid-range, and I'm really excited to see how this engine plays out for street use. And I say that because over the past few weeks, I've been spending a lot of time riding around the XSR 900, which has that 847 triple engine in it, the same one found in the FZ-09. And I'll be honest with you, that's one of my favorite engines in motorcycling today. So I'm really stoked to see how the FZ-10 compares for street use. Now, while I get ready to gear up and ride this motorcycle, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube to keep up with all the reviews we have rolling out at RevZilla.com. From first ride reviews like this one to full bike reviews to product and gear reviews, we've got you covered for your moto needs. Now, as for me, like I said, I gotta suit up and we're gonna have some fun with this very powerful motorcycle.
So we left the rest of the boys back there on the tail of the dragon because I wanted to split off and I wanted to hit Route 28. I haven't been here in about 6 months, and when I used to live in Tennessee, this was my weekend getaway. I'd come out here like once a month, rip it up, and it was like a mini vacation to myself. And it's the perfect road to really stretch this bike's legs. We left off talking about the engine, and the first thing that struck me when I got on this bike is it doesn't have that same kicky in the throat, steal your lunch money punch that the FZ-09's triple has. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have that low end torque, but it works really nicely up to give you a big mid-range boost. And then from like 6,000, 7,000 RPM all the way to the red line, this thing just hauls. I've never been a huge fan of inline 4 power, but I'll be honest with you, I mean, this thing's winning my heart with the way it builds usable power for the street. It's also got a hodgepodge of electronics on here from a variety of other bikes in Yamaha's lineup. The cruise control is straight off of the FJR 1300. The traction control is very similar to what you would find on the R1. Now, it doesn't have the bank and lean angle sensor, detection the way the R1 has, but you still have 4 different modes of traction control. You can turn it completely off. You can do 1 for least intrusive, 3 for most intrusive. I've left it in 1 for most of the day, and it's worked out very nicely. I can still wheelie it and have fun with it. The ride modes on this, you still have the standard A and B, but they are switched compared to what you'd expect for the FJ09 or the FZ09. It threw all of us for a loop. Standard is now your real low base power setting. A is your middle, a little bit more aggressive, and then B is your super aggressive. I've left it in A for most of the day, and I've been extremely happy with it. B is almost too aggressive, too twitchy. And then the brakes are where the jury's still out. I'd like some more time with this. I was expecting a little bit more of an initial bite when I slammed down on there, and I'm not getting it, and it seems very soft. I have to give a pretty good lever pull to really get the brake response that I'd expect from this. And it's the same brakes that are on the R1. The only difference that I'm aware of is the fact that they've changed the master cylinder. It's a revalved Brembo master cylinder. I'm gonna keep playing around with this and see where I land. And finally, the ultimate takeaway that I have from this bike, the thing that brings it all together is going to be the chassis. And you've got to keep in mind, when we do these first ride reviews, we've only got maybe 5 or 6 hours on the motorcycle, but when we get on them, we just have to ride them the way they are. And I've never before gotten on a motorcycle where I felt so comfortable and confident right from the get-go the way this bike is set up. It's really impressive. The KYB suspension, the chassis that's derived from the R1, everything just works to instill complete confidence. I'm going through a corner right now, one hand, ladies and gentlemen. So, I mean, the chassis is the real surprise for me for the day, and it's the real win. And I want to pull over and talk a little bit more about that in depth.
So we are wrapping up our day here with the FZ-10, and not only do I wish I had more time so I could keep riding this motorcycle, but I wish I had more time so I could keep enjoying these roads. These are truly some of my favorite roads in the Southeast. So we started off the day by really focusing on the engine and how the engine was this big center point for this motorcycle, and I was wrong. The real focus for me after the first 25 miles became the chassis. I got on this motorcycle and I couldn't believe how well it handled. It was almost like it was completely tailored for me, and I found myself riding more aggressively than normal because I really trusted the bike. The KYB suspension on this is straight off of a Yamaha R1. It's got adjustments for preload, compression, and rebound damping. It works in conjunction with an electronic steering damper that self-adjusts based on speed, and it's got that aluminum frame that's found on the R1. Altogether, it's just a package that handles absolutely superbly. And when we're talking about the engine, this cross-plane inline 4 has definitely been geared more for the street than any other inline 4 that I've had the pleasure to ride. There's a ton of just mid-range where you can sit in this and it just allows you to sink your teeth in and really rip into the power that this bike has to offer. The only downside is I don't think I got it out of third gear. Maybe once up into fourth, but fifth gear and sixth gear, I didn't really have much time to try those out. But keep in mind, if you're thinking to yourself, well, the FZ-09 is almost, $4,000 cheaper, this bike does come in around that $13,000 price range. But being that I've ridden an FZ-09 that has had upgrades to the suspension, the steering damper, you can't build that bike for what Yamaha gives you stock with this one. So big thumbs up for that. The one thing that I have that's a kind of a thumbs down for this motorcycle is the overall appearance. And I say that because there's people that we've talked to that love the aggressive look. They think it looks cool, it's badass. But then there's people that we've talked to that are like, this thing looks like a deformed Transformers reject, like Bumblebee had a facelift and it went horribly, horribly wrong. And I can really see this being a dividing line for a lot of different riders that simply just don't like this over-aggressive look. Other small things come into play. I wish it had an adjustable clutch lever to it. The mirrors, I don't know why a manufacturer can't give me mirrors that I can see out of. But overall, I think Yamaha did a very good job packing a ton of features and options into this bike. And there was so much that I wish that I had more time to tackle, but I am out of time. So if you want to hear all of my thoughts on my first ride of the FZ-10, head over to Common Tread where you can read my first ride review of this motorcycle, where I get into some of the facts that I've simply run out of time to cover right now. And also remember to subscribe to us on YouTube to keep up with all the reviews that we have rolling out at RevZilla.com, from first ride reviews like this one to full-on bike reviews to gear reviews. We've got you covered for your moto needs. As for me, I got about a half an hour to get this bike back before Yamaha comes looking for me, so I gotta run. I wanna thank you for joining us for this first ride review of the FZ-10. I'm Spurge. Enjoy the ride.